And I watched a video, and the interviewer was like, "What signaled the turnaround in your brand? Because other brands were going up for a long time, and now they're crashing." It's
Right.
interesting. Right now, there's a lot of brands that you think are very popular. Now they're crashing.
Oh, that's
A lot of brands are
interesting.
crashing down to the bottom, and they're coming back up. What is the life cycle of a brand? When does it lose public imagination? When does it lose? When does your little horse playing polo on your t-shirt stop becoming like this thing that's going down and start becoming this, ooh, you have this logo on you? And when does the other one, reach its apex and then
Right.
stop having this dream and this impact anymore? There's same with brands, same with people, right? And they were saying in Ralph Lauren, they just had a new team of people sit around the boardroom, and they said, like, complete corporate nonsense to most people's ears. They were like, we realized, we sat down, we really hashed this over, and we decided that we're not in the garment industry. We're instead in the industry of dreams. And from that
Yeah,
epic corporate insight, which they're all very proud of themselves. Let's have
that's not it
millions
at
of
all. You know what it is?
what?
If I were
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
my impression on it, my intuition on it, it's along with the rest of society. There was a whole swath of us of time when the young men were wearing baggy basketball shorts and baggy clothes and oversized this and trainers and this kind of stuff. And there's a real conservative flow back toward a bit more fashion, a bit more precision, a bit more old school type. And Ralph Lauren is very old school, right? It's very, like you said, it's collar with it, Um, and I noticed that there's more of a tendency to to go away from this loose kind of ghetto kind of sports ethos type of thing where this loose clothes and comfortable clothes and baggy clothes and hoodies and this kind of stuff. And the young men are saying no. That's I think it's the whole culture is shifting, because I've talked to a lot of young men, and I can see that they're that it parallels them going back to Christianity, which I've never seen in all my history talking to young men. They're all like leaning into going back to Christianity, going back to conservative values, family values, which you wouldn't think because if you watch the media. But underneath it, there's a counterculture. The rebellious ones, the revolution right now is a conservative revolution. And I don't mean
Okay.
conservative like as in Western politics. I mean conservative in let's be more precise, let's be more articulate, let's be more dressed, let's be more fashionable.
Traditional, historic, heritage,
Yeah, heritage. Yeah,
back, go into the earth and who we have been for
young men are doing
generations before
that.
now.
Yeah,
So, okay, so the resurgence of the Ralph Lauren brand is because of a bottom-up cultural swing. It's not because some directors in a
not at all.
classroom somewhere had this big insight of
They're
dreams.
clapping their
Okay,
hands and giving
well,
themselves on.
you've dashed my thesis right now, because I wanted to say something about that. But I mean, whether that's an effective thing to dream up in a boardroom or not, like you have just said, well, actually, the big question that not many men are asking is, how do I become something or somebody who is dreamed about? Or how do I give to someone the gift? How do I, and I got to be very kind of precise in the way I say this. How do I give to someone as a beneficent thing the gift of dreaming about someone or dreaming about me? Which is very different to saying, how do I manipulate in someone's mind this kind of anxious thought loops about me who's unavailable, and I make them think about me, which would be most people that are talking about seduction. But how do I cultivate something that makes her dream in an expansive, open, wondrous way about who I am and
Yeah,
what I'm doing next and what can be possible? This is a thing that I don't think anyone really is contemplating. It's certainly not enough. People come along with their question, how do I troubleshoot this thing that I'm happening with a woman? But this question, how do I engender in her a
Yeah.
dreaming quality about us?
Well, it's because we have a longing for something more. We're longing for something transcendent to us than this mundane existence. We're trying to understand our life in an artistic way, for instance, right? And a young man might say, "Well, I don't have my grand adventure. I don't have something that my faraway horizon that I don't know. I'm just starting out. What do I do? I'm just a dude." But you have that desire, which is mythopoetic already. You're a young man that went forth to find in all the stories. You are that guy, and you don't know, but you want to know, and so you want to head towards that knowledge that you're young, you're alone, you're lonely, you're horny, you're ambitious. These are great things. This is the mythopoetic side of you, and you're not just accepting your lot in life. You're not just going through the treadmill. You're not saying, okay, well, it's good enough, because she wants to be caught up in the same type of thing, and other men who meet you want to be caught up in the same type of thing too. And you have something different in your stance, different in your energy, different in your eyes, something behind your eyes that other people will see and recognize, whether you're 20 years old or 60 years old. See, there's something about that guy, because you've dedicated your life to this study of 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 knowledge of existence, of why you're here, the whole thing, And others people, when they meet you, women particularly, will be caught up in that. See, there's something about him. He's not just like a normal guy. He's not just like trying to get a better job and trying to do this kind of stuff. The better job is peripheral to his real thing in life. He's not trying to just buy more things and get a Lamborghini stuff at. Those things are peripheral. They're okay things, but they're peripheral to what he's really trying to know, which is the Ars Amorata philosophy, which is, what does it mean to live a life of art and relevance and contribution, So if you have that element, and you can have it at any age, because it's a choice to have it, then women that meet you are going to, it's the old cliche, it's the way you're being, not with something you're doing. It's like a way to be. Like we're talking about, like how you are. In the movies you watch, Pierce Brosnan he is a certain way. He's not doing something. Mickey Rourke, he is a certain way. He's not doing something that people are caught up into, magnetized by, and drawn into, men and women. And so you have that quality, which I just say is mythopoetic. Get what I mean? That other people are longing for and wish they had more of. And so when they meet somebody like you, they're drawn to the orbit of you. They're in a gravitational lock with you, and when they see you again, they meet you and they're dreaming about you, and they see you again on the first date, 10th date, the 10th year you've been married, whatever. They jump toward, their spirit leaps toward you, because you represent something that they've been longing for, something like
Yeah,
that.
just a couple of things came to my mind as you were sharing that, and I'm just looking at a link. So there's a beautiful, beautiful short film on YouTube. I've actually used it. I've got a free, in case anyone hasn't seen this, I've got a free movie course on our platform. I've also got a paid for movie course, which is a much deeper dive. But in the free one, um, I just linked to a video on YouTube from, I mean, it's a short film, but there's a narrated Bukowski poem. And then in the foreground, there's the videographers following this girl around. And
Oh,
the Bukowski poem is Girl on the Escalator. Do you remember this one?
I don't remember it. No.
Okay, so I mean, you have to watch this. Girl on the Escalator.
Can you put a link in the
Yeah,
description?
for sure. For sure.
I want to see it now. Girl on an
So
escalator, man.
that there's just a this is one of the best poems I've seen. So the voiceover is very funny, but but there's just images of this girl as she's going through her weekly life, right? And in one moment it's like, and she's in love with Mel Gibson. And she's fawning over this picture of Mel Gibson, right? Just eating chocolate ice cream and looking at this Mel Gibson poster as a little, as a teenage girl on her bed. It's a really funny line. And then there's one a few moments later, she said, and she has a guru, a guy who met Christ in the desert in 1978.
Wow.
And there's just in that one line, right? She's got this image of a guy. It's like, oh, I met this guy who's like a Burning Man old timer from the desert, and I met him once, and he gave me a photo. And some part of her is in love, not just with the guy, but the sense that he's a guru, even though he might be fake, and that she met him in a desert. Like the myth of that is very, very powerful, and it's
Yes.
like one part of her psyche is eaten up by a dream of this guru and whatever story he told, and then this image of Mel Gibson. Why do girls spend 6 months with a huge crush on some um cultural icon, and then it disappears all of a sudden, it's replaced by somebody else?
So I'm listening. I'm just taking a note. I'm just writing a note on my phone here because I want to remember this.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch the video, it's so good.
Yeah.
Girl on the Escalator by Charles Bukowski, and when you type that in, you'll actually get a film from
Oh, that's cool.
Nowness on the channel Nowness. It's so good. And then the other thing that I was thinking about as you're sharing is, did you ever read that book Silk by Alessandro Barrico?
About the history of silk?
No, there was a book that you recommended actually years ago. We're talking 7, 8 years ago. You wrote a list of books. There was like a list. What would Zan read? A list of books that Zan would read.
But didn't
If he had the time and space. And there was a book on right at the top of it called Silk by Alessandro Barrico, Italian writer, and it's a very, very short book about a man who is he becomes enthralled. I think he's in France, and he creates silk
I
garments,
don't think I
but
read
he
that.
he he becomes enthralled by this myth that the finest silkworms in the world come from Japan. But this is in a period of kind of pre-empire. Japan was still closed, it was closed to the world for 250 years or something.
And they
No one
sold,
could get into
sold the
Japan.
idea.
So he had to smuggle his way into Japan in order to find some silkworms to get this trade back, because all the silkworms in
Clothing.
Europe were dying. Yeah, there was a plague, there was a disease. Um, it's just one of these great stories of male obsession, actually, of all of a sudden I woke up to this purpose in this far off exotic land, and I am obsessed to go over there and make it happen. And there's something mystical about the source of the adventure himself. It's like this ultimate inaccessible land, right? It's already seductive. He's caught up in this mystique of his journey.
Hmm.
It just came up to my mind as a beautiful image. Actually, I think everyone read into this that wants to know more should watch the Bukowski video and then read Silk,
And read silk.
actually, because it is the too many of us have an atrophied imagination. That's why we don't have a more vibrant sense of adventure and mystique in our own lives. Yeah,
Mm.
this really fires something up.
Hmm. Some homework for me too.
Yeah, it's a short book. Do it on the flight to Oxford.
So my recommended reading list. I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I have I've got 3 or 4 giant bookshelves of all these books, and I was just walking by them when I was setting up for this podcast, and I looked at this book here that I've had it for a while, called Mimesis, the representation of reality in Western literature, and I'm walking by. It's thick. I saw it on my bookshelf as I'm putting my lights on here, and I thought, man, I wish I could have time to read this book right now because I'm so fascinated by it, and that's life.
What percentage of your bookshelf do you think you've read?
Oh, quarter. maybe not even that. I have a lot of books, and they're all fascinating. Like I have a bookshelf here on my right, a bookshelf on my left. I've got another one over there. I got a couple in my bedroom, and I've got my rocking chair right over there. And beside my rocking chair, I've got 12 or 13 or 14 books with a bookmark in them that are stacked beside my chair. That I dabble. I grab snacks. I read a chapter out of one or two of these. They're on the go, I guess you could say. And I'm fascinated by everything. And I could spend the rest of my life just reading. I really could. Writing is hard. Reading is nice. So writing's hard for me to do. But I can distract myself quite well with books. But there's so much that I want to understand. And like this book Silk now, I'm very intrigued and very curious about it. So I'll probably order the book and it'll be on my bookshelf. Is the one, one I want to read. But I've got this other stuff going over here. So I'm just like, oh man.
All right. So, final question for today. I just threw out a suggestion. What was something that you read? In fact, I had an email the other day asking both of us for anything we can supply that keeps the Amorati spirit alive, right?
Like book, right?
How do I keep the Amorati spirit, the Amorati feeling alive? Do you have any book recommendations?
Yeah, guys have asked me that before. Is there anything like they're coming for training with me or something? I said, in the meantime, is there anything you could recommend? And I can't think of any books that are not literature or philosophy that I would recommend to somebody to prep for the encounter with me. Where they're along the same vein.
Well, not even an encounter with you, like to prep for
Yeah,
understanding this whole topic of mystique and dreams and how to, you know,
I don't know.
understand what it's like to have a dream in your own mind, understand what it might be like to for her to have a dream in hers, and how somehow that might be obliquely connected to you.
That's a tough one, man. I'm just looking at my bookshelf right now. Like if I just pull out three books that are all together, these three books I'll just pull out of my bookshelf and just random. And I've got The Labyrinth of Desire, which I read many, many years ago, which is kind of a woman's view, kind of like The Alabaster Girl. The Art of the Novel, Ilan Kundera, and T.S. Eliot poems. And these are just three random books. And I don't know, man. All of them would set you up. All of them would start to get you to dream a bit, I think. I've got over here some really favorite books of mine, like the Memoirs of a Buccaneer. I'll show you quickly. These books here. These books are just random books that I have that are just I like them in my 20 years ago when I read them. Umberto Eco, Art and Beauty in the Middle
Mhm.
Ages, right? Henry Miller. This is in Romanian, Primavera Negra, because I know the girl in the front. She was his muse in
Yeah.
his age, and I know her to a degree. I met her, but anyway. Penelope Lively, Moon Tiger, which is a book I read in my early 20s, which meant a lot to me. The Invisible Brace Beauty, a book on beauty by an Irish writer, wrote a philosophical thing of beauty. The Arch of Desire, which is kind of an erotic novel. And Memoirs of a Buccaneer,
Yeah, that's brilliant.
which is incredible. I found this one, never heard of it. I found it in an old bookstore in the dingy basement, musty basement. And it's, the first edition of it. But it all gets your imagination flowing. And in fact, this is number one. This to prep for Ars Armada kind of feel. This kind of thing is number one because it's a life of audacity, of charging forward, of devil may care, of really just kind of the spirit of living in the wind, Casanova energy. I've got several books on Casanovas, plus his memoir. So I don't know. I'm surrounded by books that I think that all add to the mythopoetic side of a gentleman. And as you know, there's cinema, there's movies that have that same quality, that can impart the same quality. Um, you know, along the same lines. So these artistic expressions, there's music that can do the same thing. There's people that really spend their lives trying to understand and listening over and over again to Wagner. Wagner talks about these grand themes, and they think that he's divine. He touched into something divine to bring these grand themes down to us. And so I don't know, man. Art and literature, I think, is my self-help. Literature is for certain my self-help. Read stories like Memoirs of a Buccaneer. That is more helpful to my young, hurtful self than any kind of therapy or self-help books that are out there. By miles. I've got Cellini's, autobiography over there. I've got Casanova's memoirs. I've got stories of these adventures, these wanderers, Dumas, Defoe, Cervantes. These things are just like they you lift your head up after spending time with these books, and you're in your apartment in the middle of some bland city in some bland apartment, but not when you're absorbed into this book. That's better self-help than anything you can do, because you come out with imagination, think, wow, really, wow. Those guys had no opportunity. They had no help. They had no money, and they had crappy childhood. They had real trauma in their childhood, and they said, okay, enough of that. Let's go do something different. And they went into the world, and they adventured. So that's the spirit of what I'm trying to capture. That's what women will dream about when they meet you. There's something in your spirit. If you have a literary spirit, this literary narrative arc that you're trying to create for your life, and you embody that, what you reading these types of things, women will dream about you. They will lust after you. They will want to be. They're trying to get your attention. So I don't know. That's my thesis. I'm trying to write in a book.
Do you leave it there for today?
What's that?
Leave it there for today?
Leave it there for today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for rant. I'm my polemic, but I don't know what else to say or do.
Well, I'll invite a couple of questions in the comments. So first of all, just on the last bit, if you've ever read, I mean, I'm saying this because I want to make it practical for people, these like enormous deep themes. To make it practical, have you ever read something that ignited this sense, like you want to live more or go out into the world more, or to um change something about your life just because of the book and the style of the book and the way it was written, and your reading of it? If you ever had an experience with a book, with a novel like that, put it in the comments so other people, we can see a bit what our listeners, what our viewers, what you're all into. That might spark some recommendations for people. I'd be curious as well to see
Yeah,
what are
I'd like
some of
to
the
know that.
texts
Yeah.
that people are into, kind of around our community and our message. And then the other question is, if have you ever met somebody, man or woman, who made you dream in a massive way?
Hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of us are, oh, I want to ignite a woman's imagination and have her dream about me. Sure. But my belief, or I want to be able to seduce someone. Well, if I have no understanding of how I am seduced, that
Myself.
psychological, mental, and then emotional process of how I latch on to a new idea of a woman. And then bit by bit, I'm like thinking about her more and more. And then it's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble waters now. I'm thinking about her all the time. I need to stop. But that whole process is the process of seduction. through the imagination. It starts with the first encounter. It starts with some moment that stands out to you that you repeat in your memory. It causes you to dream. There's like this oyster, that grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
who has caused that in you, and how did they cause it, and why do you think they caused it? I want to invite a an
Mm.
inquiry into that topic, because how will anyone ever dream about you if you never loved the process of dreaming about somebody else?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's good. So questions, right? To comments. Put in the comment section.
Yeah, comments. Yeah, stick these in the comments,
Read
and
all your comments.
the, these are these kinds of questions are just the beginning of some of the explorations that I have, with the Amorati, that going very deep with us, and
Yep.
programs and so on. This is the start of opening up uh, the route to mastery, and being very competent in playing in these areas in your life.
It's
That's how
exciting
I'll
times,
say it.
man. It's getting more exciting. I'm sitting here like vibrating on this call because my iPad is right there where I'm doing my writing. I use a program called Scrivener,
Yeah.
which I really like, and it's sitting there open, looking at me right now over the top, in my room here, and I hate it and I love it at the same time, but I want to go sit there and struggle with it after a call like this. It inspires me. That's good.
I just punched "girl on an escalator" into YouTube. It's not at the top.
Oh.
There are lots of videos of girls on escalators that you really don't want to watch. Yeah, I had to. I,
I've seen a few girls on
there's
elevators. I like to watch videos.
actually all the main ones at the beginning of my YouTube feed seem to be like fights on an escalator, or like a girl got trapped in a moving escalator and then was almost going to get sucked up, by the top, and get she got caught in the escalator, and then there's crowds of people in a shopping mall that had to wrench her to safety. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the Bukowski poem, and the channel is Nowness, which is a
Oh,
short art film channel. Yeah, Girl on the
boy.
Escalator, Nowness.
Okay, Jordan. Hopefully that was made sense what we said. Very philosophical and sort of practical.
Cheers, then. I'll see you next time. Have a good
Okay.
trip to my hometown.
Yes, I will be there in Oxford next week. Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.